Are you a new mother who is new to this whole breastfeeding thing and you wish somebody would just come alongside you and tell you exactly what you should do during every feeding? Or perhaps are you about to have your first baby, your second baby? Maybe breastfeeding didn't go so well with the first one and you want to try it again with number 2 or 3 or whatever number it may be, but you want to be set up for success. Today, I have 10 things that you should be doing during every breastfeeding session. I want to come around you today and I want to teach you exactly what you should be doing. Hi, my name is Danielle and I have 6 children. I've breastfed all of them. I've failed with some. I've had success stories with others, and I am here to give you all the tips, all the things that you want to know for breastfeeding. Any questions you have, please throw them in the comments below. We can connect there. But let's get into the list. Number 1, change your baby first. This might sound kind of like a no-brainer, but if you're new to breastfeeding and all of this, what job it is to breastfeed your baby, and maybe your baby is still young, very little, and still learning how to latch. Maybe you're still new at this and you're like, it takes you a little bit of time to get it working, right? But this is the thing. The baby can nurse just beautifully, all of this. You do this great job and then the baby falls asleep. You've nursed both sides and the baby fell asleep. Well, then if you forgot to check their diaper first, it can just kind of be a hassle because here you are, you're all done breastfeeding, the baby fell asleep, they burped just fine, and then here you have to wake them up because, maybe they pooped or there's a really wet diaper. So number 1, change your baby first. Number 2, when you sit down to nurse your baby, know which side you left off on. And having a rubber band, like a scrunchie, hair ponytail, something like that, is a great way to remember where you left off. All right, let's say you fed your baby a couple hours ago, right? And you fed this side and you fed this side. Well, when you go to nurse your baby again, you're going to want to start on this side and then end with this side. The reason is because your baby probably drank more on this side and then didn't drink so much on this side. That's completely normal. So when you go to breastfeed your baby again, start on this side, the one that they probably didn't empty all that much, and then end on this side. And then whenever you're done, flip this rubber band or this hair tie over to the other side that you left off on. That way it can just be a mental reminder. You can do that, or when you get a little more advanced, this is something I've done. Just feel your boobs and feel which one feels fuller, and you want to start with the one that is more engorged compared to the other one, like not painful, like we're not at the place of being like engorged to the place of pain, but it's just fuller than the other side. You want to start with the side that is fuller. Question number 3. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. Know your baby's favorite position. Now, I haven't done a video on positions for breastfeeding. Let me know if you'd like me to do that. I probably will do one at some point. But there's the football hold, there's the cradle hold, and then those are the 2 most common. But I even like to say like the toddler hold, like they just sit here, they're a little bit older, leg on each side, and then and that one's kind of a good one because like if you have a chair that reclines back, like mine reclines back, then you can kind of lay back and the baby can kind of just lay on you. So those are the 3 kinds. But if you know the one that your baby likes best, your baby nurses on best, do that. You don't need to get all fancy with all these fancy ones. Like for the longest time, and even still, all my babies preferred the traditional cradle hold. And maybe it was because I wasn't so good at the other ones. And then so my babies just always realize, well, mom's not so good at that, so we have to just love this one. But I also do the toddler hold. That's what I call it, the toddler hold. They will nurse best on the position that they feel best in. Like if you've never tried another one and the one works for you, don't even mess with it. And then there might be an evolution of how you nurse your baby too. Like as my babies have always gotten older, then they transition to the toddler hold, and it's just fine. But know their position. Question number 4, get a good latch. Now, if your baby's a pro, latching won't be an issue. But if your baby's littler, if your baby is a newborn and you guys are just starting out at this, your boob might be larger than their mouth. This is something I picked up on, not my current baby Simon, but Sarah, who's 3 years old. I picked this up with her. Is like if you kind of pinch your nipple, because you got this big boob and then you got their little mouth. If you kind of pinch the nipple, it can be easier for them to get it in their mouth. And then once they, you're pinching it, and then they get a good latch, and then you can, excuse me, got something there. Then you can let go, and then they got it. That's just a tip, but get a good latch, and because like if the baby doesn't get a good latch and they're like on like the fatty part of your boob and not on the nipple, that can be really painful. Plus, they're not getting everything that they could be getting. So get that good latch. Tip number 5, this is such a good tip. Let them nurse thoroughly every single time. This is especially hard when, we've been up all night and say you're waking them during the night to feed and things like this. We're tired and we kind of want to cut them off. But the thing is like let them feed thoroughly because, they're emptying your breast thoroughly. They're doing a better job at that. And then also they will sleep better when they're fed thoroughly. I just know that, when I've been really tired, even during the day, in the beginning weeks, you can kind of want to just cut them off and be like, oh, like I'll get you next time because I'm so tired. But just try to relax and try to let them just nurse. Just let them nurse. Also, if your baby is getting kind of fussy while nursing on one side, it may be that they need to stop and burp. It might not be that like I'm done nursing now, or it might not be I'm ready to go to the other side. It might just be I need to stop and burp. So stop and burp them. Um, get a burp and then offer that same side again before you go to the other side. Now, if you offer it a second time on the one side, then I would still burp a second time on that side before going over to the other side. Yeah, that's just a kind of a pro tip. Like they can get kind of squirmy. Tip number 6, I just talked about this, but burp them in between every single feeding, even if they aren't like feeding that long on one side. Say your baby's really little, their tummies are so tiny in the beginning. Say they've nursed 5-10 minutes on one side and we don't think they really got much, maybe they had some trouble latching or whatever. Still burp them because there's a very good chance that they have a burp there. This is a very big pro tip. Do not get behind on the burps, because if you feed on top of a burp that is still in there, oh, that can be so painful for them. Because think about it. They got a burp at the bottom and then we're just filling it and putting food on top of it. Well, that burp has to eventually come out, and then guess what's going to come up with that burp? All the food. And then so you can get kind of definitely a fussy baby. And then you can also deal with lots of ups and stuff like that. But gas is painful all on its own. The pooping is painful all on its own. And then just be very aware of the burps. We got to get the burps out. Tip 8 through 10 here are kind of like more advanced in nature, but they're very, very good tips, and you can do them every single time. Tip number 8, get your baby on a feeding schedule if at all possible. This will help going into sleep training, where the baby, you've established that trust that mom is going to come and get me. I don't need to be crying for mom because she's going to come and get me. So this definitely helps with sleep training and all of this. But typically this is what happens when we have a baby. We only go to them and feed them when they're crying. Like they cry. Okay, excuse me. Let me just start from the beginning. If they're happy, we usually leave them alone, right? Like definitely if there's no need of a diaper change, we wouldn't change their diaper, right? And so we just kind of leave them alone. And if they're sleeping, we've been told, don't wake a sleeping baby. That's awesome. And plus, if we're really exhausted, we're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to just let you sleep. But those babies sometimes when they're really little, well, yes, they need to gain back their birth weight, but they can sleep for quite a long time. Like some of them, not all of them. But like when you go to wake them, you are kind of flipping the whole thing on its head. You are telling to your baby, I'm going to tell you when you eat, not the other way around. Now, this excludes cluster feeding. Cluster feeding is like something all its own. This does not work for cluster feeding, because if they're cluster feeding, they're actually trying to grow your milk supply. But in times when they're not growing your milk supply, you still should be waking them to feed. And because this is how it is. It's kind of like if mom lets me just go until I cry, then I will cry and tell her when I need to feed. But if you turn it the other way around, where I'm going to come to you and tell you when you feed, then you are the one in control instead of being bossed around by your baby. Now, this can really be helpful for like getting babies to sleep longer at night because if the baby's got on this routine of telling mom when she's going to eat during the day, then guess what? She's going to think she's the boss during the night too. And I'm not saying like starve your baby. I'm saying just go to your baby and wake up your baby. Um, when I first had my newborns, I would wake them every 2 hours, morning and night. And then once they got back up to their birth weight, then I would continue to wake them during the day, but then I'd let them sleep a little bit longer at night. And then somehow this just really goes into sleep training them. Both my Sarah and Simon, my last two, were sleeping through the night by like 2 months old, a month and a half. Simon, he's 8 months old now. He was sleeping through the night at a month and a half. He was having really nice wet diapers. All of this had no concern. And so I was letting him sleep through the night. Question number 9. Try to stick to your schedule within the 15 hours. Certainly if your baby's still not up to birth weight, but like as you're trying to sleep train, I know this isn't a sleep training video, but this is just a really good tip because, we all want our babies to like sleep longer during the night so that we can get rest. But if you try to stick to like the 15 minutes, so like if your baby is having challenges, like it's challenging for them to wake up to nurse, then I would set my alarm 15 minutes before the 15 minutes, just so that I can have some time to bug you and get you up so that I can nurse you. But like if you wake them up right on the dot, then 15 minutes over is okay. 15 minutes before is okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the 15-minute window on each side of nursing them is just totally fine. And tip number 10, understand cluster feedings. Now, I touched just a little bit on it here a second ago. Waking them to feed them is kind of not while they're cluster feeding, because while they're cluster feeding, they're going to be constantly wanting you. And we want that because that's what builds your milk supply. But just understand what they are and then give yourself grace. For example, power pumping. That is, pumping for 20 minutes, resting for 10, pumping again for 10, resting for 10, and then pumping again for 10. Well, when a baby is cluster feeding, they kind of do that. They can nurse for a longer amount of time, stop, you think they're done, nope, then they want to nurse again. And then they're done and you think they're done and nope, they want to nurse again. And then but if we don't know what that is, we think it's just a fussy baby. My sister, she has a newborn. Eliana has just turned 2 weeks old, I believe. And I was just with her a couple days ago and she nursed for like a good 20 minutes. I was watching, right? So she nursed for a good 20 minutes and then Rebecca thought she was done. And then here she's wanting to nurse again. And the reason I could tell is because she was going like this with her mouth open. Now, if you're a new mom, you might not know what those cues are, but that's what she was doing. She was cranking her head like this. Because if she's laying down and cranking her head to get the breast, right? And her mouth is open. But if we don't know what those cues are, we can think the baby's just fussy. Oh, you fuss all the time. And we can get so frustrated and really it is 100% normal. That is absolutely normal. You're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with the baby. That's just what cluster feeding is. And when we understand what it is, we can give ourselves grace, give them grace, and we just know that it's a part of the process. If you have any more questions, connect with me in the comments. I would love to connect with you there. And I hope this video was helpful. Subscribe if it was. And I'd love to see you in another video. Let me know any questions you have, and I could do a video on perhaps one of your questions. Okay, until next time. Bye for now.